the next speaker is James Bracero, which is me. Today I want to speak about Enoch, in the book of Enoch, a little known, lesser known book. Enoch, basically, why is he so important? Why am I going to speak about him? We have all these different paths here in the esoteric community, but it's not really known, or at least a light is shown upon him that he basically laid the foundation for almost all paths. What he did, what he endured, and what he learned and brought back to give to everybody was the esoteric sciences. So I'm going to speak a little bit about him, about his life and his afterlife. So his life, I'm going to speak about basically who he was, what he did to basically have God look down upon him and choose him. We have Enoch, there's two Enochs, and we'll clarify something really quick. First Enoch was from Cain. Cain's son Enoch, who he also built a city called the City of Enoch, which was built out of gigantic, enormous stones. If you guys ever seen the temple of Afterlife, there are huge ton stones that were cut in one piece and moved for miles. This was the footprint that Cain went around building cities. He was not allowed to dwell in any one place for a certain amount of time because he kind of did a little bit of something, killed his brother, had the earth eat his brother's body, and God said he will not dwell in any land for a lengthy period of time. So anywhere he went, he stayed there for a short period. He built, he was an artificer, he built all kind of things from brass to different types of metals, sound. He did a lot of different things, but he couldn't dwell in those lands, and he would move from land to land. The second Enoch we're going to talk about is the Enoch that is the subject. So Enoch is from Seth's line. He wanted to perfect what Adam could not perfect in the Garden of Eden. If you guys don't know about Garden of Eden, Adam ate from the tree of knowledge, which he was not supposed to do. He was supposed to be the great gardener in Eden. He was supposed to tend to it, but not eat from its fruit. So after doing that, him and Eve was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So what Enoch wanted to do was basically perfect what Adam did not perfect. So Enoch built a miniature Garden of Eden on the mountain where Adam and Eve moved to in the Cave of Treasures, which you guys can read in the book of Jubilees. There's various books of Masonic that speak about this. I won't list them all now. You guys can go on a bench and read about it. You have where he basically built this garden. He wore a really huge helmet that was made out of silver. This is where we get Hermes or Mercury with the helmet with the little wings, but it was enlarged. It was so huge. It actually reminds me of Super Mario Brothers with turtles. With a shell on his back. This was this size and so heavy so that he would actually be hunched over and not look up to be actually tempted to take from the fruit. So when he perfected this garden, he finished it and tended to it for so long and never ate from it. No one ate from it. He basically had it closed off. God looked down and saw this and saw his good works and said that you perfected what Adam did. So at one point, he took Enoch. And it says in the Bible, and Enoch was not. N-A-U-G-H-T. He ceased to exist. Nobody knew where he went. He was there one day, the next day he was gone. This was the first person that God took. Later there was to be Elijah and other people that followed prophets. That were usually a chariot of some sort, a horse with 8 legs, burning chariot, something with wheels moving, the sky came down and took him. With Enoch, he just vanished. Why was he so important? Why did he do that? Where did he go? It's like when Jesus disappeared. Nobody knows. So we come to the great book of Enoch, and his introduction to the angel called Uriel. So Uriel came down, took Enoch and told him that I'm going to take you someplace and teach you the wonders of the earth and the heavens so you can come back and be a teacher. To teach amongst the people so you can read the signs in the heavens. So on his journey with Uriel, during his life, he was moving so far from the place that he dwelt, which he was a tent dweller in the desert. He worshipped the sun, and as he's moving along, he started seeing different things. He started noticing the sun is rising and setting in a different part of the world that he's never seen, different direction. He's used to worshiping over here. The sun comes from the east and sets in the west. It starts changing. This will denote basically that he was moving so far in latitude and longitude on the planet that now it starts changing. You have longer days, shorter days. He's passing, well, he's going so far on the earth, you see different parts of the sun. Then he gets to such a distance from his place that he starts noticing things he's never seen before. White flakes falling from the sky, temperatures dropping, the sun now moving side to side instead of rising up and down. So we know he's going up north. He describes, at least attempts to describe snow, various rivers, and iconic places around the earth that he starts describing. Once he reaches his destination, he sees a machine, basically, for lesser words, that vibrates, sounds like rushing water, and lightning and thunder. Mr. Uriel himself tells him to go inside to see these signs and wonders, and while inside the machine, he looks out and he can see the planets and stars moving in procession through portals, doors, gates, and other objects that are basically switched around depending on which literature you read and which translation, whether it's German, English, or French. What else do we have? Once he learns these signs, he learns all the different signs that lay the foundations what I was speaking about earlier. We have the star above you guys that's sitting right above you guys. This star, does anybody know what the pentagram is from? No, what planet makes that? Venus. So if you take Venus and you actually track Venus and you track its light, it will literally draw a pentagram on the floor. So this is something that he took back when he brought this back. He learned every sign, every path, and every direction that the planets and suns went. This not only led to just a pentagram on the floor, but when to sow, when to reap, when to plant their crops, when bad weather's coming, when to store food for winter. So this made humanity last longer. So you gotta imagine back in the days a hurricane came through, you guys are pretty much done. The crops are shot, everything's done. When wet and winter came and you do not have any provisions to store away, you guys are now done. So this made civilization last longer. It created the foundation of civilizations, not only civilizations, but also the past that each one of you guys all do. If you actually look at Enoch and read the book of Enoch, each one of you, no matter what you guys do, who you guys pray to, what practices you have, what you practice or anything like that, you will find foundations of Enoch in there, everything. But again, he's overlooked all the time. We'll talk about the Council of Nicaea later. So he goes and he learns all these signs and wonders. Then Uriel takes him back to where his home was. And he starts telling everybody the things that he sees, and he's trying to describe these wonders that he's never seen before. I like to give this explanation to imagine if me and all you guys jumped into a huge helicopter and landed inside the Amazon, where these people had never seen anything before. And I jump out and I say, hey, this is my dragon. And somebody says, that's not a dragon. So I jump in my helicopter, Apache helicopter with a nice machine gun on it. And I mow down some trees, like, that's my dragon that has fire coming out. They can say, yes, that's your dragon. Now imagine 30 years later, they're trying to describe this thing they saw. They're not going to know it's a machine that has an engine and there's this and that, but they're trying to describe it by something that they know. The rotary blades were loud like a river when the river rises or a storm comes through. These are things they know, it's tangible to them. They're an easier way to explain it and pass it on from mouth to ear to their children. So moving on from him coming back and teaching the sciences, and now you have, maybe you guys have heard of two pillars that were written with sciences that are on there. That's directly from Enoch. One was made of stone, the other of material that would not burn. One wouldn't burn, one wouldn't sink. So God said, I would destroy the earth twice, one with fire and one with water. After Noah, which is the great-grandson of Enoch, once he lands a little bit later, they find some of these. They find one of them. And these were the words that were written down from Enoch from Uriel. Again, the sciences and hidden teachings of the star of Venus to the planet and the moons and everything. The moon being worshipped in many Beltane and all these other wonderful rituals that come through. Let's see, what's the time? We're also going to talk about his afterlife. God actually wanted to speak to Enoch. The angels, it's always funny, I like reading these little passages of the angels always reminding God, hey, you can't do that. Hey, remember, this is how it's done like this because God's word is law. So once he gives a commandment to the angels, they can't break that. Sometimes you have to remind them of that. You tell them, remember the other people you try to speak to, they kind of popped. Now, if you guys ever heard of angels speaking or angels on the battlefield reading about that, when they would speak or come out, there were high decibels, high vibrations, and they couldn't speak to humans directly, usually the higher angels. So it would be a messenger spoke to another messenger, and a lesser messenger, and a lesser messenger to speak to somebody else. It was never God directly speaking to somebody else. In this instance, he wants to speak to Enoch specifically. They say, well, we've never done that before. And God says, let's just make him an angel. So this is where the transmutation of Enoch comes into place. They bring Enoch to the heavens. This is where you get the magical aspect of Enoch. So you have different versions of Enoch. You have Enoch 1, Enoch 2, Slavonic, Ethiopian, all these wonderful different versions. And then the magical text of Enoch, they bring him to the heavens, and he passes through many different scenes. He's going through and he's trying to describe what he's seeing. He's trying to memorize all these things, so when he gets back, he try and talk about it. He talks about mountains of lapis lazuli, mountains of gems and diamonds that are like sand and dirt on the ground that aren't worth anything. Each mountain is something different. And he sees a mansion that has many different rooms. And he says, he asks Uriel, where are all these rooms? He says, there are many rooms in the house of my Father. And I always like this line because this line, I believe, is all the different paths that lead to just one source. Like what Lnoch was talking about. Whatever God you worship, if you like, that works for you, is that there are many paths to that. I do believe that. This is something that is said over and over throughout the Bible and in other places they talk about that. Actually, I believe Jesus actually quotes that. Little side note, the majority of what Jesus quotes is almost directly what Enoch talks about. So for having a book that was removed from the Bible and have Jesus quote it once, some people like to see it's a little bit of a hypocrite. But they weren't there to write those books. So we have Enoch being transmutated. So he goes on his journey in the heavens, and finally he gets to God, where God's at. Before he gets to the throne room, to see God sitting on his throne with this beam of light over God. They say, we need to transmutate you now. So he has this transmutation, which you guys read it. It's very part alchemic and part a lot of things when you read it. You can dissect that in many different ways. And I think this is done for a reason for different people of different paths to see this and to understand that. Because it's a collection of things that were put together. So you have Enoch being transmutated at this point. The angels are kind of taken back. Some don't like this because they've never been a human being transmutated into an angel before. It's never been done. It's never been written. Nobody knows about it. Some angels don't like it. They're upset. Why does he get to do this? And God explains that Enoch went and learned all these things as a human being and elevated himself. He became the great measurer of measures. He measured from the floor to the heavens, the pathways of the stars and the planets and everything else in between. He measured lengths of fish, lengths of animals. He measured everything. He created a book. So God said, I want him to be my scribe. So when he does this, he basically has Enoch be transmutated. He basically melts away into a body of light. They robe him with white linen. His hair starts changing color. He's physically being transmutated. At the end of this, he becomes a little angel called Metatron. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. So,
Big angel.
I'm sorry?
Big angel.
Big angel, right? That's a little joke. I think you're the only one got that one. But so Metatron. I mean, Metatron's a pretty big time guy. know, I mean, that's huge. You know, if you guys aren't familiar with who Metatron is, Metatron comes up in a lot of magical texts. He helped a small group of people escape a little country. He walked before them during sunlight as a pillar of smoke, and at night as a pillar of fire. This was God's right-hand man. Another side note on that I like to tell people is to give you the immensity of who Metatron is. On the battlefield, when angels were fighting, and they were not winning, or something was not going so well, or something bigger was coming out, they would release Metatron. They would roar trumpets, and the angels would flee the battlefield when Metatron was released. Because when Metatron came out, he did not care who was there. He was a force that did not do anything except absorb what was there. So he would absorb it, and it was just like Enoch was not. So the battlefield would be clear. So it's really funny when you read some of these big battles that end up happening, and you see the field being cleared, you know what's about to happen. You know, Enoch or Metatron is going to come out. So the transmutation of Enoch into Metatron caused a little bit of strife amongst the angels. You know, they didn't like this guy. This guy would only come out when something hardcore was happening, and they had to leave. They felt that God gave him special privileges, which he did. He became the great scribe before the Lord. So you have Metatron laying down foundations for almost any paths, or the solid foundation that was built upon of these paths, from ritual to paying homage to your gods, to prayer, to a lot of different things, and also revelations. Half of Revelations is from Enoch. He talks about coming back, he talks about the world being purged and being cleaned, and also him later on being Metatron purging other people, or the planet itself from negativity. So when we have Metatron in our rituals, that's a powerful invitation to pull him into our rituals like that. So in this lecture, I just want to shed light that he doesn't get a lot of attributes in him. He's Hermes and he's Thoth and stuff like that. But Enoch himself, before he transmutates into all these other gods, and all these different faces are applied to him, pertaining to different countries. You have Enoch, just this little guy who wanted a garden. That's all he wanted to do. That's how he started out. Just to be a pious little old guy with a big shovel staff. So I think this guy is a really interesting character. And this lecture, what I hope that you guys will take out of it is to want to go read the book of Enoch. The little Penguin classic can fit in the back of your pocket. That's just the easiest one to read. Once you guys like that, you can go on to anything else, from the Emerald Tablet to Book of Jubilees, which is actually, the literal translation is the small book of Genesis, which is actually bigger than Genesis itself. It's just all the little tiny details in it. Everything is missing in between. All the he begat this and he begat that. Once you remove that, you actually have stories of, you have the book of Adam, you have Enoch, and all these other pseudographical books that come with that. Do we have time?
426.
426. Okay. What else can I tell you guys about questions and answers? Should we open questions and answers so far? Anybody have any questions? Not one. Yes.
Wasn't Adam's first wife Lilith?
Yes. That's a whole other lecture. I can go on for days.
Right, well,
Days.
you said it was Eve.
Yes, because Lilith was not there. So if you know your story of Lilith, she was gone, long gone. She rose up in the air and flew over the walls of Eden. It's another subject I like. Why are there walls? Why is Eden walled off? I will speak briefly on that. So if anybody knows who doesn't know who Lilith is, Lilith was Adam's first wife. She was, so you have Eve, who was made by the rib of Adam. When Adam was there, this is something I guess I'll try to be as PG-13 as I can, but when you read the pseudograph, Adam was alone in the Garden of Eden. Adam tended the Garden of Eden alone. He was a single entity by himself. He walked around, there was animals everywhere. And Adam one day kind of came to the realization while he was naming animals. why am I alone? I'm the only one here like me. I have 2 feet, 2 hands, but there's nothing else like me. I see 2 horses, I see 2 fish, a male and a female. He watches them, and he realizes, where's my other half? So, believe it or not, he actually believes I must be alone, and therefore all the animals are for me. So he actually lays with animals. Esoteric-Con actually talks about it. And the angels that are there in the Garden of Eden see this, and they're like, oh man, they're going to tell God. What's going on, man? So, well, you go tell him, I don't know what you go tell him. So again, like I said, the messenger, they keep passing it up the ring. And the last guy's like, yeah, I'll take it. They don't tell him what it is. And God's like, oh man, okay, I'm going to go have a conversation with him. So they go and have a conversation. The angels try and stop him from doing this. I believe he's along a river hanging out with his friends. And God says, hey, what are you doing? I always like when God does that. It's always God speaking to a child. Like when a child spills a glass of milk, and you say, why did you do that? No reason, but you want the child to reflect on that. So he asks him, why are you doing that? And he says, well, there's only me, but there's 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, so I just must be fitting with each one of them. And then just to clarify, Adam was a hermaphrodite. This was known for, yeah, you look pretty shocked there. Yes, he was a hermaphrodite. There's a lot of things to show this. Seth, who was one of his sons, was exactly like Adam, and he had both male and female attributes. This is where we also get in our rituals or pathways duality, the feminine aspect, the male aspect, the female power and the male power. And to be, a good magician, just like any magician, you need a magician or a practitioner, you need a foot in both. You need to be equal, you need to be balanced. So going back to your question, he said, hey, I want to make you another half. So what he does, he takes Adam, and from the backside of Adam, he literally splits Adam in half. So Lilith is 100% equal to Adam. She is just longer hair. That's about it. Well, Adam's hair was pretty long too, but she's basically half of Adam. So now that God says, look, I made you a counterpart. So now there's 2 of you, just like there's 2 of these. You don't need to do that no more. You 2 guys go off and have fun. So they're experimenting. They're doing all these wonderful things that a man and a woman or 2 partners would do together. This gets a little awkward, but at one point, Lilith says, hey, it's my turn. And Adam says, no, I want to do it. I want to continue doing what I'm doing. I want you to lay down again. She says, no, it's my turn. We're equal. I'm made from your backside. We are equal. It's my turn for you to lay down. And he says, again, no, I don't want to do that. And takes her arm and attempts to force her down. And Lilith says, the 114-letter true name of God rises into the air and flies over the wall of Eden, while Adam stares in awe. He has no idea what she had said. He has no idea how she can do that. He has no idea how she can fly and where she just went. This is where Adam goes and laments. He jumps off a cliff. He throws dirt on his head. He pulls out his hair. He beats his chest. He throws himself on the ground. And the angels go, oh my word. Send the letter again. God needs to come fix this. So he comes down. Actually, the angels are a little perturbed on how Lilith knows the 114-letter name of God. This is a whole other something you guys have to go read. I don't want to dive into that. It's very controversial on who she was, his consort. So go read about it and read Esoteric-Con. So God says, don't worry, I can fix this. I'll make a woman out of your rib, a smaller piece, that's not for your backside. This is all scripture, I'm just quoting. So he makes Lilith flies and leaves. By the way, she does what she hangs out by Dixie's Scroll, where small band of angels that already are chilling the earth are dwelling. So Lilith is gone, Eve is made, and Eve and Lilith now dwell in the Garden of Eden. This is before their apartment in the Cave of Treasures when they get down. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, I know about Lilith. Lilith is very intertwined with Enoch as well.
I thought that she ate from the tree of life first and gained knowledge and left.
So what you're talking about is the vampiric Bacchus rites that later would come to mimic that. You have to imagine when you go and you study religion or past or any esoteric foundations, it is a game of Jenga. So you're up here with whatever more modern time version. And if you study going back and back and back, it's all built on other blocks. You can see what I like to call micro, macro, as above, so below. Pull and push. It's all the same thing. You see core ideas repeated time and time again with esoteric studies. It doesn't matter what it is, what country it comes from, countries that have never seen each other, but they're saying the same truths over and over again. These are things that you can remove and keep removing until you get down to the core beliefs, but this is something you see time and time again. Push and pull, micro, macro, as above, so below, fire, water. It's all the same thing. They're all connected. Small point, large point. But like somebody said earlier, two heads of a coin. There's a tail and a head. But what people fail to realize is that it's a coin. People are so caught up on what it is they're seeing on the front side, they don't venture out to see the whole perspective. So yes, you have Lilith. She was directly connected with Enoch. She went and dwelled with fallen angels and learned sciences before Enoch was around. So yeah, she threatened to kill Enoch too. She threatened to kill all of Adam's children. So this is where you get, but going back to your question, from the Tree of Life, this is where we get the vampirism from. Anybody watch True Blood? Okay, so True Blood is kind of, not my thing, but I had a friend of mine that was watching it. It's pretty interesting. They get some pretty cool things. They bring Lilith.
Is that the one with the car, black car?
About good omens.
No, it's two guys.
Supernatural. Supernatural. It's been a really long time. I think they stretched that one out for a really long time. Really cool show. They do try to portray a lot of cool things. Do not like the crowd in that one, but yes, good omens. You guys should check out Good Omens. I do like the crowd in that one. It's really cool. I was going to say. So yes, Bacchus rites. You have vampirism, basically what she did from there. Yeah. So, and I'll give you another fun fact about Lilith. You ever hear lullabies? We sing to our children lullabies and put them to sleep. So this is directly from Lilith threatening Adam. So there's three angels. I can never pronounce their names. It starts with the S-A-N. Never pronounce it. It's almost the same except for the ending. Huh? It's very close to that. The three, they're triplets. And one would speak, one would finish, or one would be in the middle, and one would finish their sentence. They're almost very robotic. Really weird. You couldn't separate them. You couldn't confuse them. They were very direct. They would get a word of God or a law of God or a mission of God, and they would just do it. It didn't matter if it was there, good, bad, evil, what, they didn't care. They just did it. It was walk over a little baby, kill it, doesn't matter. They were doing what God wanted to do. So it's very mechanical. You see these little attributes of different angels do different things. So you have, they go to Lilith and say, hey Lilith, we need you to return to Garden Eden because Adam's freaked out, freaking everybody out. We don't know why you said those words. That's between you and God because obviously he's the only one that can hand you those 114 letters. And she says, I have an ongoing pact with your Lord God already. Like I said, they do the mission until God's word intervenes with that. They have to do what God says. And she says, I already have a pact. And to them they say, well, we can't break that pact because we can only do what he says. So she found a loophole. So they have to stop and they have to sit there almost computing, like they're baffled. They're like mumbling. And she's waiting. And they say, we'll be back. Because they have no answer. But during that, she actually threatens Adam, saying, if you come here and you hurt any of my babies, which are the Lulu, those are her child offspring of demons that she was mating with in the Dead Sea caves, the Dead Sea area, that I will eat Adam's babies. I will go and haunt his whole line and kill any male children I can, or any children for that matter. So we come back to lullaby. Lullaby literally came from Lilith, go bye-bye. Do not come near my child. So it was a prayer. You find this in Hebrew traditions, where you have little talismans. You have the little danglies over the baby it spins. Those were actually talismans to ward off Lilith. So you have music playing, you have a little thing dangling around to protect the baby throughout the night. Going back, actually, it's like a three-part here. With Lilith, your tree of life that she ate from, and the children. Anybody heard of succubus? Yeah. That's directly from Lilith. So at nighttime, you get night terrors. You have compression on your chest, you can't move, you wake up. Again, kind of awkward, usually followed by a wet dream. The Hebrews speak about this, and that was a succubus or an incubus taking what they need to create a chocolate demon child. So these are the lesser demons that come from the lineage of Lilith. Yes, good question.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
No.
So back to Enoch's anatomy.
His Enoch
Yeah.
or Adam?
I'm sorry, Adam.
Yes.
Is this where the ideology of being more masculine as being a male comes in, where changing that mentality, it's okay to be both masculine and feminine for man?
You know, the only thing I can speak on that, I'm gonna, some people are not gonna like me for this, but this is literal history, is that we had the female aspect was always here. The number one mass-produced item in the world back in the day was a female statue. This is for fertility. We know this in archaeology. This is things that we found that was mass-produced and shipped out, actually. So you have the world's oldest profession. Anybody know what that is? You guys are smart. Or a little weird. Okay, but the second one is the salesmanship. So people selling something. And you can sell anything, right? It can be your idea. As long as you go and you see it, you can sell it. So this is mass produced, and it just caught on. This was Venus. This was the heavier set woman with a large breast, large hips, birth-bearing hips. So this is something that went on everywhere. The second, number one, most produced object was a phallic object, again, for fertility. Were you speaking about the male, you're talking about like the hostile male aspect?
When was it that the mentality of man being just masculine all the
Yeah,
time?
church. So even when you look at a church, again, I will apologize ahead of time. I believe you should believe whatever you want. Again, I don't believe in the word believe. Because believe is having faith. Again, I don't like faith, but to create a fact out of something that's not tangible or you've never seen or never dealt with. And I don't want to go off of that. But when you have the church wiped away that aspect, mainly due to paganism. So when you have paganism, that was the stronghold of almost any civilization. When the mother church came through, they would basically, like Jenga, like we talked about earlier, if they could not convert anybody over in that area, they would demolish their sacred site and build a church. So this came in, they came in like a wrecking ball and just demolished everybody. But when you look at the church, they hide the female aspect in plain sight. So they want followers. You're seeing my followers. I don't want any followers. I want peers. I want somebody that's going to elevate me. I don't want somebody who's going to sit there and be at one level always. I want them to be elevated so that I can now be elevated more from them learning something that I forgot, that I oversaw, that I did not know or understand. They've understood better. So you have the church. Anybody ever wonder why you what yourself before you go into the church? He's nodding over here. Yes. So you have holy water. You ever look at the front of the church? You ever see that? Talking about Catholic Church. The nice big flower window that's on there, that's pretty much a lotus. And you have the mother church set up with two steeples like this and an entrance. Then you have the shape of the doors. If you look at it, look at the female giving birth. That's exactly the angle that you're looking at with the legs up. So when you enter the mother church, you go in through the womb. So when you actually look at it, it's laid out as a female's body. So again, it's hidden in plain sight. You have the Father, the Son, and what? The Holy Ghost, right? You're a ghost. Right? Can you have a son from a father? Oh, there's a little aspect that's missing from that. And that would be the mother. So that mother aspect it was erased by the church. In Hebrew, you have 1, 2, and 3. Words and letters are numbers. So you have Aleph, Beth, and I always forget what the third one is. Anybody know what the third? Gimel? So you have 1, 2, and 1 plus 2 equals 3. Aleph is father. Beth is mother. So if you have a father and mother, you have a child, which is number 3. Oh, sorry? Gemel. So, this is something that is, again, when you have a truth, you see it being repeated over and over and over. And if you have a truth, you either see it being repeated over and over and over, or somebody really not liking it and really want to bury it. These is 2 common factors with truth. I guess it would be a third, that's somebody swaying that. Every lie has a seed of truth.
Yeah, it's right behind you, by the way.
So, you have this, to answer your question, yes, the female aspect. With what's emerging now, with everybody kind of having the freedom to do what they want, freedom of speech, and to freedom of knowledge, really. Right now, we're at the precipice of having unlimited knowledge, and people are becoming more aware. The church did not want that. I'm sorry to go back on that, but the church did not even give out any Bibles back then. It was written from a book that was locked, that nobody was allowed to read except the priests that they would want to basically read a scripture from, and that was about it. So yes, very good question. Yes, very good questions. Are there any other questions?
4:45.
15? Okay. Is there anybody want me to elaborate on anything?
I'm Metatron.
Oh, Metatron. Dr. Garrison?
Yeah, just share a little bit more about what you know.
Metatron. Again, something that it's when you read the Bible was made very specifically, it was rewritten very specifically to downplay and hide things that they could not remove, they physically could not remove because it was so pronounced. So when you have the Hebrews or the Hyksos people that were pulled out of Egypt, and you have Moses who went and found a little god on a mountain, a little storm god. The first one of the things I love talking about is when Moses interacts with God. I think it's the most funniest thing. The only other funny thing is with Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah when he argues with God. I think it's the funniest thing ever. But you have Moses speaks to Miriam's, right, at the well. So Miriam has a broken well. Moses is running away from Egypt. Sees Miriam, she's really hot. Tries to show off and fix the well is broken. She brings it to her father. And first thing he asks, hey, what's up that mountain? Why does it look so crazy? He says, oh, there's a little storm god up there. Don't worry about it. He says, do you know his name? No, I just don't go up there. It was cool, I'll go up there tomorrow. So Moses goes up there. And Moses goes up walking on a little path. You guys know the story, the bush lights on fire, right? I mean, if I'm walking and a bush literally just lights up on fire, I'm gonna think something's going on. I'm not gonna run, I'm not gonna hang out, like what's going on, I wanna be here, it's gonna burn down. What's the first thing that Moses does? What's the first thing that does when that pops up? What is your name? Like he's already dealt with that before. He's seen that. He knows how to interact with that already. And the funniest thing that God says, probably in all the Bible, is I am who I am. Shut up. Don't worry about that. You don't need to know that. And he repeats that. Tell me your name. And why is that? Why is he trying to ask God who his name is?
Power over.
Lilith had the name.
Power over God.
Power of God, right. So what did Lilith do? She said the true name of God, used his name, rose up, flew over the walls. So that's what Moses was trying to obtain, was his name. So God only he learned his lesson basically, he gave his name out, told Moses, I am land. This is where we get the I am from, amongst other things. But yeah, him and Moses kind of become friends. God kind of is like, hey, you're kind of cool, you kind of put me on my spot here, I like that, nobody ever does that. And then when everybody comes up here, and a little storm god from Samaria, kind of own a temple there, but then I moved. What are we gonna do? Let's do some things. So then Moses uses him basically, and then God uses Moses to go back to Egypt and pull the Hyksos people out. We'll go back to Metatron. So God sends Metatron down to walk before the Hyksos people while they're walking around. By day, he's a pillar of smoke, and at night, he's a pillar of fire. So this is the literal interpretation of the Bible. When you read about the Sinai Peninsula, when you go back further enough, or far enough, a lot of weird things happen there. Does anybody know who occupies, or what country is Sinai Peninsula? It's Harlem, right? Who lives there? No one. No one lives there. No one has ever lived there. No one will ever live there. Why is it? In the history of mankind, if you guys go back and look at the Sinai Peninsula, this little triangle spot, nothing is there. They will go there, they'll do things there, but they don't dwell there. Right now, there's an Egyptian military base there. It's completely off base. It will absolutely kill you if you go over there for some reason. But the Egyptians always had a stake in it, directly from their gods. But if you guys go back and check this out, this is a very peculiar area. A lot of things happening, a lot of things burning and smoke there from a certain mountaintop that you can see pretty far away. This is, you had people who tried to explain this away as being a volcano. This is what Moses was following, that by day you saw a pillar of smoke, and at night you see the flames coming out. This is very similar to a little ladder, Jacob's ladder, where angels are going up and down. During the day you can see them, and at nighttime you can see them. It's the same thing. So you have a pillar of smoke at nighttime, something's burning, going up and down, and then you have at nighttime a pillar of fire, again, something going up and down. Again, you have angels always going up and down. So yeah, Metatron walked around in front of the Lord's people.
Some traditions put him at the right side of the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes. Yeah, Ark of the Covenant is a whole other one to get into. Anybody know where God spoke from the Ark of the Covenant? You know, he would speak from it, right? It was a speaker. You know where he would speak from? I don't need to. No? It was between the arcs of the angel's wings. So literally a spark would happen in between. So when you have Aaron or Moses or anything of a description where you have somebody dealing with this, there would be a spark in between that would create static, and literally the voice of God would come from those 2 points. Yes.
So earlier you stated that there was 2 Enochs.
Yes.
The Ethiopian and Enoch.
Oh,
Church of
the
Enoch.
books of Enoch.
Right.
Text.
The 2 texts, right?
There's
Do
multiple.
you know which the Ethiopian Church of Enoch actually follows?
So you had a Freemason who went down there. I cannot remember his name at the moment. He went down there for other purposes and accidentally found it and brought it back in 1820, I believe. I try to do no specific definitions or specific things for you guys to get you guys to go out there and learn it. But about 1820, he went out there for an expedition and brought this back. Which ones they use, most likely they will like you, because we talked about the Ark of the Covenant, we talked about Ethiopia, where the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be at. They will lie to you and tell you whatever you want to hear, and all this info, so you just don't go off the guy that's protecting it, because he will not open the gates, he will not let you in. But you have, it's called the Ethiopian text of Enoch. This is one of the most complete ones. The other complete text that we have was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, with this Dead Sea area when the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. Remember, the Dead Sea Scrolls are little pieces of ripped paper, It took them months and months to glue back together and to figure out which ones actually piece together. What they don't tell you is that there was 3 full, complete, unbroken books of Enoch that will never see the light of day. These were in the alabaster jars that were just sealed. So that's where we get our main Enoch from. It's going to be from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which shed light onto the other Enoch texts because they were different. There's a natural text, there's a Slavonic version, there's an Ethiopian version, and then the Dead Sea Scrolls. Anybody else before we wrap this up? It's getting hot. Yes.
Would you say that Archangel Michael and Metatron are equivalent?
No. I would say a definitive no. Metatron, again, he's literally locked up. He's sitting next to God in the throne room. The throne room, a lot of the angels can't go into. You have Michael, and Michael is a very big character. He's relied upon for navigations, for protection, for all these different things. He slayed the great red dragon. He did all these wonderful things. And he even worked longer for God. But then you have Metatron, who's just like the nuclear button. Like when you have nothing left, okay, we're going to release Metatron, sound the horns, and everybody would disappear. And you see this when you look at the rank and file of the angels. You get an angelology. You have, we'll talk about seraphim. Anybody know what seraphim is? Okay. Oh man, over there. I haven't seen you since that up night. Okay. Seraphim, anybody knows what that means? Seraphim.
Oh yeah, it's like the highest angel, right?
Right, but do you know what the literal translation is? Fiery serpent. Wow, right? Fiery serpent. Does anybody know what the sign of Enoch is? It is a serpent, yeah, it's a caduceus. You see on our amulets? Little wings, stuff like that. That was his symbol. He goes back to Thoth and all the wonderful attributes that he has, all different gods and God he was.
Look at the Golden Dawn tarot card.
There you go. Yes. Good old Alpha Tarot.
Caduceus, right?
I'm sorry?
Caduceus.
Yes. Yeah, Caduceus. Yes. So we were talking about seraphim. The seraphim. So the seraphim would actually randomly eat other angels, lesser angels. That's what their food was. So you have cherubim, and then you have the seraphim. The seraphim were they basically had feet of almost like an alligator. They were really a dragon. That was pretty cool when they would come out and stuff. You had the other angels that wouldn't know that the seraphims behind them in the rank and file. You have the lesser angels go on foot, basically like your human shield in a battle. And the seraphim just come through and just eat and burn it. Pretty cool. So Michael is pretty much the beauty of an angel. He's a big guy, but he's not the top dog. There are other angels that do great and powerful things. We read Sodom and Gomorrah. A lot of people say it was Michael. Some people think it was somebody else. You have Gabriel. When you read Gabriel switches sides left and right. He's replaced numerous times for doing bad things. He's hand slapped, and he always gets away with it for some reason. So you see, Gabriel can speak with the fallen angel and then go back to heaven. It's really weird, He goes in and out. Done? Thank you guys. This concludes.